Hello, everyone. This is Tommy. Welcome to the World at War Comics podcast. Thanks for joining us today. We have a very great guest today, Chris Reda, and he is one of the publishers for Critical Entertainment. They have produced some amazing comic books. One of my favorites right here is The First Americans, an incredible three-part series. They also have The Cowboy with Many Hats, which is another good comic book. They have Lifeboat. This one's actually by the second publisher under Critical Entertainment, and that is Mason Mendoza. But today we're going to be talking about Chris. We're going to be talking about Critical Entertainment and everything that has gone into it and what their goals are with their publishing company. So before we get into that, though, if you could give us a like and a subscribe, that really helps out the channel. And without further ado, here's Chris and I. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the World at War Comics podcast. Today, we have a special guest. We have Mr. Chris Reda. Chris, thanks for joining us. Really a pleasure to have you. I know we met at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was able to pick up some of your comics. It was my first introduction into Critical Entertainment, and I've really enjoyed it. So I was glad you were able to come on, and I thought maybe we'd spend some time talking about some of the stuff that you've done.
Thanks, Tommy. How'd you like Comic-Con this year?
I loved it. I mean, I don't go every year. So Hall H is always usually the center, but I feel as comic book creators, and I heard this from a lot of people at the show, although, you certainly feel for everyone that's fighting for equal pay and the right to make a living wage. So you don't want to wish anything like that on anybody. But with Hall H not being there, it seems like comic book creators really made out for the most part. The floor was packed. People were buying more than they normally did. And there wasn't so many distractions. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a comic con. At least it was started off that way. And I feel like with the popularity of some of the comic book movies at the last few years, that's kind of taken control. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it was packed on the floor.
Yeah, I think it was kind of nice to have people a little bit more focused on the comics. I feel like that's like the toughest thing when you go to Comic-Con and you're like, oh, this is a show about, waitresses or something. It's like, why is this here? So it's nice to have it a little more focused on the comics and the comic creators. And I got a lot of actor friends and writer friends and stuff. It's tough in the business. They really don't like paying you that much. I've worked for free a lot, like for years. And they're just, look, there's 10 guys behind you, 100 guys behind you, ready to go. So that's why they can charge you so little. But tough. It was nice. We had a lot of traffic. We had a new booth this year. They moved us to the movie section. So this was our best year. Most amount of people that came up and bought stuff. So, hey, it was good for us.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations. You had a great booth, and it was fun meeting you and Mason. So, I really appreciated it.
Yeah,
and I picked up some pretty cool books, man. This one was I really, really enjoyed this. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Nice.
That was very nice, man. I love the style of the story. But we'll kind of talk about that because it's very unique for a comic book for sure.
Yeah, we'll go over a few of those things. You'll see. I play with a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles of. I'll have that book, no dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And I'll have Planetary Expansion, which has a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's start at the beginning, Chris. Obviously, you're in the comic book world right now. When did that passion for writing and storytelling begin for you?
So really, I went to Cal State Northridge for film school. And I took an adaptation class, and they went over a lot of literature books and one comic book. And I was doing a lot of TV scripts. I was trying to do spec TV scripts and do original screenplays and stuff. And I worked at a lot of production offices, and I kind of saw how the process works. It goes, the script goes to an intern. The intern writes some coverage. It goes to the assistant. He might read it, have his own notes. Then it gets to the boss, and he kind of he just goes, okay, let me read this coverage, and then that's it. So really, when your script hits the producer, the guy who's making the decisions. He might not even really be reading the script. But if you give him a book like this, and it has all the visuals and they can visualize it, then you kind of like already have your movie too. It's a lot easier to grab the attention of a producer with this, as opposed to here's the, you know, the 100th script you've got today and they all look the same, and really you only look twice at it if it has, you know, Tom Cruise attached or someone's kid attached or something like that. So I really kind of got into, okay, maybe I'll make some comics and try to get them adapted. And really the process, it was like, cool, I have my film already. Like I could, you know, it's there, you see it. And if someone doesn't make it, so what? You know? So I kind of fell more in love with making comics and then trying to do screenplays out of them. So I kind of just got stuck here. And I just kind of enjoyed the industry a lot more. I thought it'd be a little bit easier for me to get into it. And you do get to work with artists, which is really cool. You know, that's the fun thing about the film industry is you work with like a bunch of different people. But like in comics, you get to work with these artists and to see like your ideas come out. Like in the First Americans, it's like beautiful. And you get those pages back and you're like, this is great. You know, it's a movie. So, you know, that's kind of how I fell into comics.
No, it definitely is all there. And you could see that relationship with the artist, specifically in the First Americans, has to be crucial, right? Because the storytelling is coming through the art. And so you two have to be really aligned so that story and that message that you want comes across in the art. And I felt like, I don't know what the background or the foundation for First American was in your eyesight, but I felt like the messaging got across as far as just the path that they had to take, the danger that they had to live through day by day as they made that kind of journey up into, at least this is part one. So we get up into Alaska and that's kind of where it ends. But man, that was absolutely incredible. The visual is beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Really enjoyed that.
And so that kind of goes into like one of my first lessons is show not tell, right, in film school. And they make you do projects or like small projects where there's no dialogue in it. So you got to like force yourself to do it. So, you know, if you fall in love with it and don't try to be Tarantino in every single thing you do, you know. I try to take advantage of the medium, right? So even though I want to make films and stuff like that, there's stories that just work much better for comics. Right? 14,000 years ago, a little bit easier to stretch it out.
Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So that passion, did you grow up reading a lot of comic books, or growing up you really were just a movie buff and wanted to get in on the movie side, and then comics kind of fell on your lap as that medium to help get into the film industry?
So for me, I kind of had some trouble reading when growing up. And I kind of gravitated to like Amazing Spider-Man and X-Men. And it was much easier for me to read and then have a visual to it and put it together. So that really improved my reading skills. And I did fun stuff like, you know, I draw like a cool Spider-Man Venom comic, you know, 5-page comic and stuff. And I didn't think much about it. And I was originally going to try to do computer science because that's kind of what my mom did. And I'm good at math. And then I just kind of got stuck in math classes and I was like, this doesn't even really make sense for programming. And then I took a film history class and it showed like Casablanca, The Graduate, The Sting, all these classic films and how you can like look at them differently, see how all these shots are used to make moods and stuff. And I kind of fell in love with it. And I kind of just fell into film. I went to Pasadena City College for a while before I transferred to CSUN, and they have a crazy good film program.
Oh, wow.
And I was like nonstop. I just want to do stories, and I was taking as many units as possible, making as much stuff as possible. So
that's awesome.
You know, comics kind of has a foundation for me. back in my past, and it kind of came back. So I was like, okay, now I'm making comics like I did when I was like 10 years old,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very cool. So where did critical entertainment come into play?
So I had a few books, but it was just me, and I decided to team up with Mason Mendoza.
Yeah.
Lifeboat's one of his books. You'll
Yeah.
see up here. And then we co-wrote Minion. And actually, in college, we came up with this story idea. It was like the classic dorm, oh, here's a cool idea we have. We have all these friends who were like, oh, I remember you were talking about this story, 10 years ago, and it finally came to fruition.
Yeah.
So now that I teamed up with him, I had a company. And it was just, once we had the company, it's easier to get booths.
Yeah.
It's easier to get a booth at Comic-Con. People look at you differently.
Yeah.
And, not to discredit like Image and Boom and all these other publishing companies. It's hard to get in. It really is. And you could have the best, most beautiful thing, like you could have First Americans there, and it won't really matter too much to them because you're not Robert Kirkman, or you don't have any previous history. And, it's like that in film too. It's like, oh, well, you're a director. What have you done? And it's like, well, I can't be a director until, so I kind of saw the process. I worked at Boom Studios for a little bit. And so I kind of saw that end, but it's really tough. They take a lot of percentage. You got to like make a certain amount first to pay for their editing costs and advertising. So it's like, I'm already paying that.
Yeah.
So maybe I should get more than like 8% or something. The whole concept is here's the whole product. I'm giving it to you. And they're like, great. Now we're going to do you the favor. That's what a lot of it is. Like, we're doing you the favor, even though you do all the work.
Yeah.
Right. We're kind of going back to the strikes here. It's like a lot of these executives just go, well, there's a million other actors and stuff and a million other writers, but they are the ones who put your things together. No matter how much AI or Photoshop you throw at things, like, you do need people. You do need creative, and people are dedicated to things. So, I just wanted to make my own company, kind of do it myself and try to reap my own rewards, That's just kind of how it is. And now it might be easier for me to get into an Image and stuff like that, but I had to kind of do all this first. This is what opened a lot of doors for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to learn all those processes. You might have learned a little bit of those when you were at Boom anyways, but man, it's a lot of work to put a comic book together, right? It's not just writing a story and getting somebody to do the art and you're done, man. It's a process, and it's not cheap either.
And then there's, you got to ship them the products, you got to have the website, Diamond, it's like a whole other beast. Distribution. So there really is a lot that goes into like just one comic book.
What was the first comic that you published under Critical Entertainment?
So really the first works I had when I started was The Cowboy with Many Hats here.
I did pick that one up.
Right. And this is with Tad. So he did the First Americans, right?
Oh, okay,
So I did this with him first. Then I knew I could work with him and stuff like that. And so I had that, and that one's coming out November 15th in Diamond. So this is our first book that's going to come out.
Nice.
But really it was Zombie Zero, right? This was my first, okay, here's my film. I want it to, be adapted someday. And it just started with one chapter, and I was in a writer's group too. So I was like pitching it to them and stuff like that and getting feedback. And I wrote 7 chapters pretty much. And I had one artist that fell through. That didn't work. But then I got Leandro Rizzo. So this is kind of was my big flagship for our company starting.
That's awesome.
So these were the first 2.
Yeah. And how many issues of the zombie do you have?
So it's 7 issues, right?
Zombie Zero. Yeah.
The full book, it's 250 pages.
Nice.
And that comes out November 29th.
No, and you'll be able to get that through Diamond, so people could ask their comic book stores to pick that up too.
Yeah, so it will be in the September catalog.
Nice. September catalog. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's the first step, is getting it in the catalog. And then as fans, they could go into the comic book shop and say, hey, I want this. And it's very easy for them to go to the website and just order it. So yeah, I mean, congrats. That's huge.
And this has actually been optioned by Patriot Pictures too.
Wow, that's huge, man.
Yeah. So we have a director and a screenplay and everything. So
wow.
Yeah.
So that could be the first adaptation of your graphic novel out of Critical Entertainment then, right?
That's what we're hoping, you know.
Yeah.
It's a straight, like, start to finish film length type thing. And there'll be some changes, right? You know.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's the other thing too, is since I've worked a little bit in the film industry, I know, like, no, you can't change anything. You know? Don't change anything, because that'll get the door slammed on you real fast.
Real fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of get married to your creation, right? And unfortunately, not everybody else has the same care for your creation as you do. They might like the concept, but they might need to make some changes to to broaden the audience for you on your behalf. And I know, as a writer, you have what you've created. You don't want anybody to touch it because you're very passionate about it. But let's tweak a couple things here, and it might be able to create more passion.
And look, maybe my 8th movie, you know what I mean? I can,
exactly.
clamp her down. But, that attitude, you kind of have to have that with artists too. When you give them a script and you get stuff back, you got to let them have some room, right? To be creative. You know, because if you try to have it exactly your way, you're going to drive each other nuts, you know, and be unrealistic.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting, man. That's huge. I think I don't know if that's every comic book creator's dream. I'm not sure everybody goes into it for the purpose of going to film, but it's got to feel extremely good if you do get optioned for a film. That's awesome.
It's good. Yeah. And then, I work with the producer a lot, so I'm kind of avoiding it just got optioned and it's going to just sit in a vault somewhere, which is very popular, especially with comic book properties, right? I mean, how many times did you hear Lock and Key got optioned? And that's a huge book. That was a huge book.
Huge, it's gigantic.
So, there's a lot of creators who are like, I live in the Midwest, or I live on the East Coast. And I mean, I live in LA, so I can make these meetings.
Yeah.
And you gotta be able to, like, go to these meetings, like, hey, I want you to meet this director. Hey, what do you think of this script? So I am kind of doing the dual role thing, but I promise it's like I'm not just making comics to make films.
Exactly.
So,
which I think is okay if you are. I mean, a lot of films have been turned into a comic as well, right? So I think it goes both ways. And at the end of the day, right, I think a lot of us enjoy comics because we do want to kind of escape and get lost in a story. So,
I have a comic from a film right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, with Nicolas Cage and stuff. So it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Yeah, certainly does. Yeah. So, like, since you've been in the film industry and you live in LA, and you've gone through the schooling and you kind of know a little bit of the ins and outs of how that operates, if you are a comic book creator and you do want to, one day possibly have your story be picked up and turned into some sort of a series or a movie, you kind of mentioned one already, but what are some of the things not to do to make sure that you don't slow the process down and it gets shelved? You mentioned one right now is be open to changes, because that's going to happen. That's a quick door being shut if you're not, right? Any others that people should be looking out for if they're in that process or looking to do it?
So a lot of people, I've seen it from the other side too, because I do work for this producer as well. And we do look out, he wants me to look out for good properties that are turned into film. So I've kind of dealt with some of it on the other side. You get a lot of people, right, that are okay, you can't make any changes. And you also get a lot of people who are like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And my agent, like we've heard this before, it's like some unknown writer with a story idea that there's, you know, it's like, oh, this assassin story. There's a million assassin stories, you know. And they'll be like, this is, my agent told me this is the next Fast and the Furious franchise. So I don't know if I can let it go for this or that. Or, you know, so that's like, okay, you're gone, you know, because once someone thinks that they're way better than you already, they're gone. There's that. There's the, like, it's worth more than it is. You know, there's the, like, I won't sell it to you unless I direct it. Back to like, what have you directed before? You know, who are you before? Right. So now you're back on the other double-edged sword, the other side of like, what have you done? Yeah. What can you bring to us? So that's why it's so hard to make things in the very beginning, you know? Yeah. But if you are coming from the very beginning and you're already feel like you're Tarantino out of the gates, you know, you're gonna get pushed out the door real fast because you know, you can be talented, but no. And then some other things, you know, at least what to do is go up to people's booths, like our booth, or go up to maybe not Marvel exactly, but go to these booths, go to these comic conventions, and you gotta be able to, here's my comic, right? Yeah. One like, don't do this is, don't be like, oh, you're a big movie producer. Here, buy this book and I'll give it to you, you know? Yeah. So you got to be willing to go, you know, let some printing costs go. And yeah, like, just don't think you're Tarantino right out of the gate. You know, you can be Robert Kirkman later. Yeah. So, you know, be open, and there's going to be a lot of rejection. So just
that's part of Hollywood, right?
Kind of get used to it. A lot of people they'll come up to your booth and they'll be like, I worked with this guy and that guy, and they don't really have any credits. And so there's a lot of BS too.
For sure.
Those are some pitfalls to watch out for. People who just want to buy your thing real quick, and like, you got to do your research, look at your contracts. Like, stuff like, don't get too excited. Be patient, right? Be patient. You can't go to a film producer and be like, where's this? Like, you know, my boss, he's traveling all the time. He barely has time, right? Yeah. That goes back to, he barely has time to read scripts. Yeah. It's easier for him to grab a comic. Yeah. See what it is, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Incredible. What a crazy process. What percent do you think of ideas initially get picked up, but then they're shelved for a very long time? You think that's a lot? Like more than 50%?
It's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's like I'd put it closer to 75%.
Wow. Yeah.
Maybe it depends on the producer. Like you know, Michael Mendelsohn, he makes films, so he, you know, he does like collecting some IPs, but he's a little bit, his pitch was a little bit more like, I actually do make them, you know? He's a little bit more of you know, he's not a crazy big Paramount studio like that, so a little bit better chances through him, right? He's a little more direct. But, you know, if Sony picks up Lock and Key and it sits forever, like that's tough. And especially, like, we picked up another book from Christina Blanche, and she lives in Indianapolis. She can't come out to meetings and keep bugging Michael and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just tough. It's tough. And there's a lot of different avenues, you know, like, I'm doing him favors. He's going to more likely do me favors, you know, but not everyone has that option. It really is. You have, everyone's path is unique. They tell you that a lot in film school. You know, you could be Fox's president, the son of Fox or something, or you can have no contacts and make your way up and have just one incredible book. Michael found us at Comic-Con, right?
Oh, really?
He found us at Comic-Con and came up to our booth. He liked our company and he was like, do that for me. And I like Zombie Zero. And I like this other book. And so there we are, So you got to put yourself in the opportunities.
Right.
You'll hear that a lot, but really, like, if you have a booth at Comic-Con, stay at the booth.
Yeah.
Don't go to Hall H. Like, you got to sit there and, you run small press for a long time and it's crowded and you're shoulder to shoulder, but, that's what you got to do. And book signings and podcasts and stuff like that. It's like half of it's business. I do more business than I do writing now.
Yeah.
And it's flipped completely.
That's interesting. You like that?
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Just the nature of the beast, huh?
I think most people think they think they're going to be like a dream writer and it's going to go to Image and their first book's going to blow up and they're just going to write all day. And even if you're in Image, even if you're in Marvel, you can't just sit around.
Right.
You got to get out, It really is. And it's tough because we're all introverts, comics and not talk to people. And man, you got to just sit there at Comic-Con for 5 days, suck it up, maybe let an exclusive or two go away, not stand in a line and put yourself in the right spot. So that's kind of right. There's my advice. You just got to hustle.
Oh, very cool. What was the second book published under Critical Entertainment after Cowboys with Many Hats? The Cowboy with Many Hats.
Cowboy with Many Hats. Then it was. Let me grab it here.
Yeah.
Then it was Space Dragon here.
Oh, okay. Face Dragon. I didn't see that one yet.
This one, Space Dragon.
Oh, Space Dragon. Interesting.
Right. So this is a lot like the First Americans. There's no dialogue. It's all visuals.
Same artist?
So this is Alonso Molina Gonzalez.
Okay.
He's one of the artists that we work with here.
Yeah.
And this was like my big show not tell book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it basically was my first like full kind of like book. This is like 100 pages.
Oh, okay. So you did everything all at once. It wasn't like a 3-part series that you turned into a graphic novel type thing.
Right. So this was like my first like book put together. The Zombie Zero book was still like single issues at the time.
Okay.
It was also my first like alternate cover. We got like this alternate cover.
Oh, that's cool. That was nice.
So this will be like a website exclusive now.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
This will be available on Diamond, and it's only like $15.
Oh yeah, I have to pick that one up next.
And this is my only all ages book.
Okay,
So once again, different genres, different style, all ages. So that was my second like book, and then my next like kind of big series was this Planetary Expansion.
Planetary Expansion.
And this is like my ongoing series. All right, colony ship heading to a new Earth-like planet in another solar system. So they get in this like huge rocket that holds 1,000 people, and you kind of follow all the different people's lives. What it would be like, there's like an ex-NBA star, and then there's the scientist who found like this planet in another solar system.
Oh wow.
There's like an outlaw who's trying to like get out of his syndicate, and he's like, hey, they're getting out of here. This is the only way I can break away. And there's the ship captain, the guy who like owns the ship, who's sort of like a Steve Jobs, Elon Musk mix. So this is kind of like my ongoing series. I'd like to go for a while. I'd like to get it adapted into a TV series. But that's my ongoing. So this and The First Americans are my two like continued series where I'm just the writer.
Okay.
So like Space Dragon, Planetary. So I did a little sci-fi binge.
I love it.
Right. I got the zombie stuff out of my system. Right. I was like, cool. Finally got my zombie story.
Yeah.
I can touch into sci-fi, which is a little bit more my strength, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of research done for Planetary. I've read a lot of boring science books now. I interviewed some people from JPL and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
I've gone to JPL and checked out like the rover that's now on Mars and stuff like that. So yeah, those are my second and third books.
Yeah, very nice.
They start adding up after a while.
For sure. Now, as far as you and Mason and how you run Critical Entertainment, do you have distinct functions, or you both are just producing content and just trying to get it out there?
We do have some kind of roles. We have some roles where I handle some things and he handles another. But really it's kind of like we just make our own work, and then we have I do a lot of the day-to-day operations, the get the UPC code and the ISBN number and taxes and setting up the conventions and just the whole like Comic-Con, having a booth there, the forms, the badges, the deadlines, the hotels, all that stuff. I handle a lot of that. Because you build a relationship with them. That's how you get like the better booths. After X number of years and you bug God a million times, please upgrade us. So I'll do some of that stuff. Mason will come to all the cons. He's a better salesman than me, right? He's a little bit better salesman than me. He's like the opener, I'm the closer. On some sales. And we try to do, he has different genres too. So we do a lot of the like, oh, you like cowboys, you like this cowboy thing. Okay, cool. You like shorts. Here's his short by the same artist or something like that. So that's kind of how we help out each other. And I really couldn't do it without Mason and vice versa. It's tough. It is tough to be at a booth for 4 or 5 days. You need to go to the bathroom, you know what I mean? And you do want to walk around and stuff.
And
we have a few people who we hire to help us. But still, it's just easier. Like we just did a showcase. We had a panel right at Comic-Con. It's just easier with 2 people up there talking than just one. And we play off each other. We've been friends for a long time. So, it makes it a company. I always look at things like D&D, you have an extra party member. Like if he does well, then I'll do well, and vice versa. Right. So, I try to have the team mentality. We get experience together. If you get a cool magic weapon, that's better for you. Cool. You know what I mean? So that was the idea. And that's the same back to like, if you submit something to Image, you might have your artist, but if you have 2 people, it's a lot better. It's a lot better for me to go like, hey, check out Lifeboat. It comes out. When does it come out? November 22nd. Blue Diamond. It's his first short story.
Nice.
And he's, Mason's a little younger than me. And he doesn't have as much film experience. He's a philosophy major. So, there it is. Like I have a little more expertise in film. He can focus a little bit more on editing and storytelling and stuff like that, sort of the strengths you'd get from being a philosophy major, right?
That's very cool.
He uses a ton of philosophy in his books.
I bet. If you have a passion for it, right, you're going to find it throughout anything that you do, right? Expressively.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to do a sports story at some point. I'm a big sports guy.
Are you?
But so I want to do that. I have the sports character in Planetary, kind of.
The NBA player.
It's like if LeBron left at 32 to go on the spaceship, I'm making Space Jam,
Making the real Space Jam.
So I get a few elements in there.
Yeah.
Like Minion, this guy likes baseball, so there'll be some like flashbacks. Or like when he's traveling somewhere, he might join like a baseball team for an episode. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool. Very awesome, man. When's your next con that you're doing? Because you do certain ones, right? You kind of have a calendar of ones you do every year, the same ones.
Yeah. So our cycle is WonderCon.
Okay.
WonderCon, San Diego, and then Los Angeles.
And then
so
Los Angeles.
We really focus on all the, like the film areas.
Yeah.
We used to do Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic hit, and then it was very light when we got back, and our company just got so big where it's really hard to do both. Mm-hmm. And I think the big change was they changed the date. LA Con and Seattle decided they were going to have, pick mommy or daddy and put it on the same weekend.
Yeah.
And, one, I have to drive for 14 hours with a bunch of stuff in a car, and the other it's like 5 minutes from me. So
that was an easy decision, probably.
It was a really easy decision, and we loved Emerald City.
Yeah,
it's nice to get to Seattle and stuff. That's where I met Tad Galusha.
Oh, okay.
For the First Americans, he goes to Emerald City a bunch. He lives in Alaska.
Okay.
So I love going there. That's a really good place to find artists. Is Emerald City.
Okay.
But yeah, we had to cut that one out. It's just too much. And like Comic-Con's too big for me now. So, we got to focus on the three. And we're LA based. So,
makes sense. Makes sense.
We'd love to do Chicago and New York.
Yeah.
When we get bigger.
I think Chicago or New York, I think is coming up, right? Or did it just pass?
I don't know. It might be coming up.
Yeah, I think it's coming up if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's just really tough.
Expensive too.
It's hard. You got to ship your book. If you're not driving, you got to ship your books, and it's like a whole process, man. It's crazy. Yeah. When I worked at Boom and we did Emerald City, they had it shipped to a comic book store. We went there, we picked it up. It was just like a whole mess. So those ones are tough.
Yeah.
But really, WonderCon, LA, San Diego, and kind of back to your people who were trying to get stuff adapted. Yeah, come to our booth all the time. And there's a lot of people like, oh, I want to make, will you pick us up? We can't really pick up your comic yet. But if you keep bugging me, if you keep showing up, persistence is very key.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's very awesome. What else do you have going on, Chris, that we haven't talked about already?
So really the biggest thing for us is we're in Diamond now.
Yeah, that's huge.
We got into Diamond. We're going to be in the September catalog here. I think it comes out the 25th.
Yeah.
And then our first 3 books. It's going to be The Cowboy with Many Hats. Comes out the 15th of November. Lifeboat comes out the 22nd. And then Zombie Zero comes out the 29th.
Okay.
So we have 3 books in November, and then in December 12th, we'll do Planetary #1. Right. So please go to your comic book shop and tell them you like our books, and try to get them to stock, put things in stock. A lot of it's relations to retailers.
Yeah.
That's a whole other ball game. And then we'll come out with Space Dragon.
Yeah.
And Minion is the other big series for us. So we'll do that. And Planetary has 6 issues already.
Oh wow, yeah.
Right. So
I love the concept of it. I'm gonna have to pick. I didn't pick that one up for some reason at the show. I don't know why, but that one actually, I love sci-fi, and that one has me intrigued, especially the NBA player. And I got to get into that story as to why they would leave.
Right. We got like the NBA player.
There you go.
We have twins. Right? The twins dynamic where one wants to leave and one's staying.
Oh wow.
We have like the ex-rock star who's going on a trip, and he brings stuff to go on a trip. We have we have like an artist. She's like a painter who's going for inspiration. Right?
There you go.
Going for inspiration. Yeah. We got just a teenager with a corgi that rides in a backpack and floats through space like Cowboy Bebop, right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
So a bunch of different characters. Minion, right? We have, see, I got a lot of books now.
That's huge, man. It's incredible.
So 2, 3, and 4, they'll be available. Mason short, Life is an Open Door. He has one more short that'll come out next year too.
I did see that one on the website. That one looks interesting.
This one's cool, and this is a lot like Space Dragon, same artist, but no dialogue, right?
Yeah,
very cool. And then our first Americans here, number 1 and number 2's out. Tad's working on number 3 as we speak.
I mean, so far, I only got a couple. I got Lifeboat. I haven't read Lifeboat yet. I was going to wait to see if Mason comes on and we could do one for Lifeboat. But man, the first American's by far my favorite. It's the art is incredible.
It's kind of a fan favorite. It's kind of a fan favorite. We also get a lot. Educators love it. Right?
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I think educators really like seeing a comic that they could bring into a classroom.
Yeah, there's no dialogue, right? So you can interpret it how you will, and it's kind of safe for everybody. And a little gory, but I mean that's how it was at that time, right?
a little gory. It'll get a little more gory, but that's just how it is. You're fighting a saber-toothed cat.
Yeah, exactly, which was awesome. That whole couple pages was amazing.
And tons of research. I love doing the research part, like planetary interviewing people. First Americans, it was really Tad. He liked Paleo Indians. He liked the whole culture. He lives in Alaska.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I just did research, and the story came together. You do the research, and you get all these elements, and you go, "Oh, this is the first time wolves started getting domesticated."
Yeah,
man, he's got a cool wolf.
He does have a cool wolf.
He gets a cool wolf. So like really interesting parts of time.
Yeah.
It's kind of based on a finding in Sierra Madre where they found a mammoth skeleton with these Clovis points. They're called Clovis points.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where they basically had these spears, but they made them bigger and longer to be able to kill mammoths. So the whole idea is, wow, there were mammoths and humans here in Sierra Madre, New Mexico, 14,000 years ago.
Incredible, right? Incredible. I live in a little town called Hemet, and they found some mammoths as well when they were digging out. They created one of the largest man-made lakes in the United States here called Diamond Valley, and they created a museum with everything that they found right there.
They found that stuff, yeah. So
yeah, it's incredible.
It's crazy to think how long ago there were people in America. And when I was first doing this, it was like, not to get too like political.
Yeah.
That's when they were building the wall and, immigrants are bad and stuff like that. And this is kind of like a reminder, hey guys,
there's been people walking these lands for thousands upon thousands of years, right?
Long time ago, and not just Columbus or even the Vikings, have some respect, or perspective.
Exactly.
We all take this journey here,
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chris, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed our conversation. Really appreciate you sharing your background and everything that's going into critical entertainment. I really enjoyed these two creations of you that I did pick up at San Diego Comic-Con. So I definitely will get into my local comic book store and make sure that they go to their preview book and they make sure they order through Diamond some of those titles that are coming up. In September, and then December is the planetary. So I will definitely make that. Anybody listening, make sure that you get in your comic book store and mention those same books. But if there's nothing else, Chris, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. Would love to do this again anytime you want, my friend.
Oh, 100%. Let's talk some more, man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, my friend. We hope you have a great weekend and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thanks, Tommy.
All right. Thank you.